Okay. Good evening, welcome to January 21st, 2025 Common Council, City of Carnesville. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilor Jenny Barrett.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Scripture tells us in Proverbs 3:13, happy is the man who finds wisdom and the man who gains understanding. Let's pray. Loving God and faithful Father, we thank you that you listen to us. Please help us to listen to one another. Enlighten those gathered this evening as they meet together so that each will have a clear understanding of the issues needed to be discussed. Give those involved clarity of purpose as well as what objectives they should accomplish in this meeting. May these objectives drive each one to actively participate rather than to just passively listen. And I pray as wisdom and understanding are applied, that the desired outcome will be achieved. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everyone this evening and make sure everybody your cell phone ringers are off to begin with roll call.
Councilman Gray.
Present.
Councilman Collins.
Present.
Councilwoman McQueen. Present. Councilwoman Barrett.
Present.
Councilman Williams Jr. Councilwoman Phillips. Present. Councilman Robb.
Present. Okay, everyone has the minutes from the January 6th, 2025 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. On down to new business, we have resolution, can we take it for two together or you want to keep them separate?
And we can take them together, it's fine.
We have resolution 2025-03 and 04. One's reimbursement, one's a transfer. Rosemary?
Resolution 2025-03 is a resolution to reimburse $9,737.19 and to fire other employees. Resolution 2025-04 is a resolution to transfer $186.79 from general into MVH.
Any questions for Rosemary? If not, entertain a motion to approve resolutions 2025-03 and 04.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on down to item C. We can do C, D, and E together. We can do them one at a time, whatever your pleasure is. So we have the Joint Board Local 512. We have the EMS will be one contract. The next contract is street garage, sanitation, and parks. And the last one is a transfer station. Everyone has two copies in your packet. One was a red line, so you can see the changes that were made, everything we discussed. And the other one was what we come to the final agreement to. So, any questions from council? And if not, I'll take a motion to approve. We can do them all together or one time, it's your pleasure. All together, so I have a motion to approve ordinance 7040, 7041, and 7042.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Have a motion for a third and final reading.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Let's move on down to department reports. We'll start with Chief Jones.
That's all right.
Good evening. Go over the report for December, and then we'll hit some of the totals as we go through the report for the year. We'll start with the overtime. Total overtime for the month of December was $9,800.54. The manpower shortage portion of that was $7,504.08. And the scheduled overtime was $577.35. And below that, you'll see
We have a row for call-in, try to keep track of the call-in for incidents, whether it be fire or any type of other incident. Try to keep that separate so you can see that in the report. But for December, we had a call-in of overtime of $1,719.11, and that was for the Town Terrace Department fire. We called in both shifts to assist on that. You can see the total. Somebody had a question. The total for the year in overtime, we had $92,453.42, up from the previous year, 2023. Obviously, you can see that, but then, you know, we were down from 2022. A lot of factors go into that, whether we have injuries, sickness, and then if we have people retire or leave, that contributes quite a bit to overtime. So, moving on down to fuel usage, we used 4,766 gallons of fuel. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the total for the year, not for the month. Yeah, we didn't use 4,000.
That was a lot.
Getting ahead of myself. Yeah, we just cruised the streets. No, the December total gallons, 429 gallons of fuel for a cost of $1,544.42. Now the year-end total, 4,766 gallons of fuel for a total cost of $18,221.53. That was actually down a little bit from the previous year. I think gas prices did go down just a shade from 2023. Moving on down to fire incidents for the month. We had a total of 187 incidents, 38 of those fire-related, 139 EMS related, and we had 10 auto accidents. We were up from the previous year. For a total, let's see, we had a total of, 2,236 incidents for 2024. Training hours, we had a total of 62.25 training hours for the month. 45.25 was fire-related training, 17 hours EMS related training. When I say instructed hours, instead of calculating every man hour of instruction, it would be quite a large number. So I try to just keep track of the hours that's instructed. If we have a class, say we had a class today that lasted 3 hours, and I just credit that for 3 instructed hours. There might have been, if there was 8 people in the class, then you'd be looking at 24 man hours. But then for a monthly total, you'd have a pretty large number. So I just keep track of the hours. There may be a class where we only have 3 guys. Maybe a class where you have 8 or 9. So that's why I report instructed hours, if anybody was curious about that. Inspections, we had a total of 10 fire inspections for the month, and we had 0 investigation hours, so no fires. I'm going to hit a few highlights that we had, just go over a few things that we did for the year 2024. We did, if you remember, purchased 2 sets of extrication tools, which has been a huge asset. With purchasing those tools, we did put on a advanced extrication technician course. Had a lot of our guys from our department participate in that class. We put those on down at R&R Sales, which does a great job of assisting us in our extrication training, and with the passing of Glenn Red. He was a great asset for our department, and they said they're going to continue to help support us, allow us to do more extrication training down there, so we really appreciate that. We also held a fire investigator state certification course. This year we did have some people from other departments come and attend that, so that was nice. We installed new speakers throughout all the stations to go along with the new radios that we purchased and installed the previous year. The station's got a little bit of an upgrade in the paint. If you've noticed, Station 1 looks a little bit different. I think the doors on all the stations look different. They just, the stations need a little bit of TLC over the years. The gear lockers were installed. The guys really like those. Helps take better care of our gear when we store it. I got a generator installed at Station 1, which is, good because the other one was failing. During power outage, we had an issue with getting the doors open and such. So the only, I guess I don't want to say bad news, but I did get some bad news. They put a delay on our new truck again. So I was not real happy about that. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. Went back and looked at the contract, and obviously it says they're not responsible for any delays, but I misunderstood the salesman when I contacted him back in the fall, because we were initially expecting it in October, and he replied to me that the expected production, or the expected finish date was Feb 26th, so I'm thinking, well, February 26th. I thought, well, it's only a few months, but when I followed up with him again here a couple weeks ago, he said he meant 2026. So obviously I was not very happy with him. But he said, obviously the contract, we signed it, said 365 days, which would have put us in October, and now we're looking at another over a year, so. I'm gonna keep in contact with him, just to see if it changes, but unfortunately, yeah, we were really excited. I was kind of expecting it in February from the last message, but, so we'll just keep doing the best we can, put Band-Aids on some of the old trucks and until we get the new one. So.
Let's talk about the boat you got today.
Oh, yes, if I could, do you still have that? And we can show the council. I'll kind of explain to them. The SCBA, when we purchased the SCBA's, the new fancy technology, we got the masks in. There was things that we didn't like about them. We weren't the only ones, so we decided to send those masks back and get a different type of mask that I think we're a little more happy with. But that being said, that left us with a credit with that company or that vendor that we ordered fire equipment through of around $15,000. Obviously, over the years and most recently, we had another river incident where we was searching for someone. We do have quite a bit of water rescue equipment, but a boat was one thing we didn't have, so we looked into possibly purchasing it's an inflatable rescue boat. It comes with a motor, but I'll let John show you a video, but we can purchase that with the credit, and not have any money out of pocket.
Driving tank.
Obviously, we just need this if the river is up, right?
Yeah.
In most cases.
Yeah.
Do you have I was thinking about that with that. Do you have a map of the river with different points of entry?
I'll discuss that in just a second.
Cool. Oh, go.
That's not the exact boat that we ordered. It's very similar. That happened to be a pretty good video that we found, but it's all similar. It's inflatable, inflates with like 1 air bottle. And then we also got a 30 horse, or, well, it was gonna come with a 30 horse motor. But it all pretty much comes together just like that one. I think the end goal would be to probably get a trailer and have it on a trailer, but having a place to store it. Until then, we would probably just deploy it just like that. But going back to what you were asking, as far as the river being up, obviously, when the river's up, it creates a lot more hazards, but the incident we had a couple weeks ago, when I looked, water levels up on my phone, it was only up like 2 feet, but it seemed like it was, it was a lot higher than that. And just, on a normal day, in certain places at the river, just the current, people think that it's real easy, but there's spots where the current, it's a lot worse than what it looks like, so. But going back to what you're talking about as far as access, that's one of the things that's hard for us is we're limited. We know a handful of places where we can access the river, somewhat easily, but there's so many cliffs and areas just where you can't get to, a lot of trees. So up and down, throughout the city limits, we're familiar with several places where we can get in the river, and then probably some places where we try to take advantage of our training. But other than that, sometimes the calls come in and, we're scrambling up and down the banks trying to find a place and, even try to locate where somebody, may have seen somebody. But as far as the boat's concerned, there's probably maybe 2 or 3 places that would be, easy enough to get it in the river. But that being said, if the river's up and it's up several feet, then that changes things too. I mean,
Good thing with that one, you can drop it over the bridge like it did in South Bend.
right,
Yeah.
That was
Right,
slick, they
right.
lowered it over the bridge.
right.
And again,
And
since
we-
it's
yeah,
a
obviously.
smaller motor, but even if the river's down, we need to get on it, you got the paddles you can still use.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering that
The
too.
good thing with that
because-
boat, it can handle shallow water real well. I mean, it's not real shallow, but if you can't use a motor, you can still get around in it.
Right, so, yeah, I mean, obviously, when you want to train, you're looking for a nice, warm, sunny day to do your training, but doesn't always give you it doesn't always give you the, the great scenario. When we do just our normal river rescue training, with the ropes or throw bags or anything else, we're trying to find a deeper spot to make it more realistic, so. And if, we've already had discussions, if we have to take the boat and, take a group of the guys, groups at a time to a different location to train, just, for, boat flipping, stuff like that, we'll do that, but.
I went down and watched a training, and we were not far from, what are those storage barns down there? And it was a warm day, and I was standing in the water just inches. But just across the river they were training, they were up to here.
Yeah.
So it can change, there's a lot of places in that river.
And that's what I think tricks a lot of people.
It does
that
trick
just
a lot
like
of
to
people.
go hang out on the river. It goes from, ankle deep down to, 6, 8 feet, and then people tend to get in trouble. But
It'd be a good tool to have. We've
Yeah.
talked about it for a long time, we just never could justify
it
it.
just increases our capabilities.
It does.
I mean, there's only so much you can do with rope, and then you can worry about safety aspects of that in itself, so.
we're on the river all the time now, and there's been a couple of times that we've been out that, at whatever point, you're passing people by and they're like, oh my gosh, there was a situation, and we called 911, and I'm always thinking when I'm on the river, like, how do you guys even find them? How do you get to them? Because there's no,
That's the first challenge.
There's just-
And then a lot of times when somebody's calling, they're not sure where they're at. We've had discussions, I think the EMA director, we've sat in meetings and they're having a discussion about putting markers.
that would be a
posting-
great idea
Posting markers
because,
along the river, numbered markers, whether they
Yeah.
be, I don't know however far they're talking about. We had a meeting with a conservation officer that was there also,
Mm-hmm.
talked about putting markers that way. If somebody does call 911, then they can, say we're by marker
I
29.
feel like Brookville does have that.
They do, and I think that's probably.
Well, and
where
now that we have the Riverbank Kayaking Company there, I think we're gonna be getting so many, like, they've done really well. And so now you have that access point, and so you're gonna get a lot more people on the river that is not as familiar. They don't know where they are.
Right.
I mean, it can get pretty tricky when you're twisting this way and that way, and Like, you don't know where you are in relation to,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, I just passed Smalley's, or I just passed IMI, you know, like, we know now because we've been on the river so many times,
Mm-hmm.
but
It's actually,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been down several times too, whether I'm just fishing or kayaking, but it's advertised and people from out of town see it a lot now. And we've run into people on the river that, you know, they didn't have a clue where they were getting out.
yeah.
You know, and so we tried to explain that there was a couple different, matter of fact, they ended up going all the way to Laurel Dam because they wasn't sure
And see, that
where
was
to get out, so.
one time too, we were getting out and we actually go on down because we have access at a friend's house on down. So we get out and we can see a truck go this way and you can see them looking down the river, and then they go back and they're looking. And it was actually the guys from Riverbank looking for people who missed the exit point. And so we went on down, like driving, just to try to find, like, there's no access point
Yeah, once you
on
get
down
south of
past 3 Mile, and I
Knolltown,
was like,
yeah, once you get south of Knolltown
Mm-hmm.
Bridge, there's really no place to get out till you get to Laurel.
yeah.
Yeah, unless you're getting out on, yeah, some farmer's property, but it's not very accessible at all, so.
And it's a lot of cliffs, like you
There's a
said.
sign that
just
says last
straight
place
down.
to get off.
Yeah.
Point
No, right, but
They do have
the
that now.
signs
They did
will-
put a sign
Signs
up.
will help, and it'll help us,
Yeah.
obviously, try to locate, so. Yeah, we're pretty excited about this, so.
Good use of funds.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then obviously it's not, you know, gonna cost anything extra because we had the credit, so.
I know they were raising money last year for it, and they'll probably still do it if they haven't got the funds yet for those markers, but did that go all the way north of the county?
I'm not really sure.
Because I understand, we
exactly.
have businesses that are Fifth Street and down, but
I think what
there's
we,
inappropriate activity that goes on north
yeah.
as far
I
as
think-
entry that,
I think our
we don't want to
discussion,
forget
I
about.
think the discussion we had in that meeting was to cover the county
Okay.
anyways. But yeah, I mean, you go up, I mean.
How do they do it on people's private property?
Well, that's obviously another issue that they're, you know, gonna have to deal with. Probably get permission, I'm assuming, but I wouldn't, I mean, you would hope to think that there wouldn't be a property owner that would be opposed to that.
Although some people
Yeah.
putting it in all the way at Waterloo and going all the way down to 3 Mile.
Right.
There was a log jam there for a really long time where you could not get through at all. I don't know what it looks like.
Wouldn't
Now, I've
there be
never
an easement
been
somewhere
that way.
around there? On the banks of the river, couldn't there be an easement?
You mean for each sign or?
They shouldn't they, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are
Yeah.
discussions that we're still gonna have to have. And I'm honestly not for sure how far along in the process they are. I know they're.
I would think there'd be an easement on the banks
yeah,
somewhere.
because nobody owns the
Yeah,
river.
yeah.
No, that river is a little different. We looked at that, because it's changed course so many times, but as long as you're in the water, you're fine on a boat. As soon as you step off, you're on someone's property.
Right, but not just the
far as-
water.
as far as
You've got the
posting
water
the
line
sign.
where you can put it where it
Well,
can be above.
if it floods and it has flooded, it's not, and that sign is there.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying,
It's
well, that was
past-
flooded your
flooded past
backyard
it.
and that was
That was
that
the other-
property. I didn't say that.
That was the other discussion, you
water
know,
line.
where, I mean, do you try to put it up in a tree? You know, I mean, you can't just rely on a post.
Should it be at the closest road?
Right, so, yeah, there's a lot of things that we still have to discuss yet, but I think any sign's better than not having any, I mean, I go up and down the river and I think I know where I'm at and then I don't, you
We
know.
went to Hawkins Hills a couple of years ago, and we rented kayaks, and they had mile markers on every, just so many scattered throughout the river. You had to look for them sometimes, but they were off the side, stuck in the ground, just a tall post with a mile marker on it.
Yeah, the river's getting really busy, so I think that's a good idea.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the quicker we can locate them, the quicker we can do something, right? So, any other questions? Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Chief Bolos.
All right, I'm start with December's report. Overtime is high again. We're at a little over 16,000 for the month of December. Gallons of fuel, we're at 1,691 gallons of fuel. Total fuel usage for '24 is 22,543. gallons. Our December incidents, we had a total of 542. Does anybody have any questions on those items? In December, our department training, we had 112 hours. K-9 had 8 of those. Our detectives took in 12 cases. All 12 are closed out. They had 2 felony arrests. Detectives also took in 9 ICAC cases, and 1 of those are closed. Our drug task force had 3 felony arrests last month. Drugs taken in December was 2 grams of marijuana, 3 grams of heroin fentanyl, 10 grams of meth, 32 pills, 88 needles, 6 items of paraphernalia, and 1 handgun. Also, I'd like to report that our 3 hires are currently going through the 40-hour pre-basic. It should be done this week. So I'm excited to get them out and get an FTO and working the road. Any questions on December's? All right, for the 2024 report on our incidents, we last year we took in 9,595 calls of service. On our training for our department, we did 1,929 hours of training. K-9 had 208 hours of training, and they did 10 demos last year. Our detectives, they took in 257 cases last year. They had 65 felony cases charged. They took in 35 ICAC cases. And as I explained in a few meetings ago, that also included working with other agencies. Namely, one of the cases was solved in Toronto, Canada. On ICAC, their major focus is CSAM, which is child sexual and abuse material. Last year, we also had resolution to our 2 murder cases, which we had in 2022, and we got a conviction for those. Through their warrant service, the detectives have taken in 12 firearms. Also in our SWAT training, our SWAT guys had 6 call-outs, 34 total hours of call-outs for the SWAT team, and they trained 136 hours last year. Finally, our drug count for 24, marijuana was 8,591 grams, heroin 385 grams, meth was 398 grams, cocaine 112 grams, took in just over 1,500 pills. Our mushrooms was 216 grams, we took in 1,016 needles, took in 32 guns, and collected over 12,000 in cash. And as you guys have this copy this year, so you guys see on our other drugs would be the THC vape, THC wax, that's on the bottom portion of the page here, and also our paraphernalia is everything else there that's on that draft. So, any questions on December's or last year?
Great job on the drugs. I would say that if you take some of those drugs with lethal doses, that's just under 195,000 lethal doses that are off the streets. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Mr. Wolf.
Good evening, council. 2024 ordinance office recap. I think we had a pretty productive year with 1,012 separate ordinance violations addressed. 235 of those being accumulation of trash and rubbish around the city. 228 dealing with grass and weeds. 191 abandoned vehicles, demolition derby cars, expired plates or junk vehicles on properties. 107 indoor furniture being left outside of homes, majority of that being mattresses and couches. 66 parking positions, 34 dangerous buildings, 24 public information requests, 15 yard exceptions, primarily dealing with storage of large amount of items outside of people's homes. 14 dilapidated buildings, 11 harbors of rats, snakes, mice, or vermin. 10 animal control assists, where myself and Dave from animal control got out together and did some work together, or calls were made into me and there was nothing I could do, so I would turn it over to Dave. 9 dealing with trees and shrubs needing to be trimmed or completely cut down. 9 area planning issues that I was unable to address, that I gave them the information that they needed to take on over to area planning to try to get something done. 8 excessive noise. 7 machinery is not connected with the operation of a household. 6 for obstructing visibility. Those were primarily bushes and things that are overgrown around fences at the corners of alleys and different areas around town to try to alleviate some of the traffic problems that would have occurred if someone pulled out. 5 obstructing streets, 4 transient merchants, 4 handicap parking, 4 needle pickups, 3 home-based businesses, 3 relating to garbage, 2 relating to temporary signs on public property or public right-of-ways, 2 obstruction of sidewalks, 2 nuisances causing a health or safety hazard, 2 issues I had to refer to the health department for more assistance, 2 issues I had to refer up to State of Indiana's licensing department, 1 dealing with garage sale and garage sales that ran for extended periods, weeks. The one actually it ran for about 2 months. 1 hauling waste to private dump, 1 obnoxious odor, stench, or emissions, 1 dense smoke issue, and 1 issue I had to turn over to the county commissioners because I had no control. Any questions?
Good job, Larry.
Thank you.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Director Powsey.
For the month of December, we had 8 hours, 23 minutes of movie production, 19 hours, 54 minutes of original production. YouTube Analytics showed us we had 13,231 views with 2,096 hours, 3,872 subscribers. Our #1 content for the month was, no surprise, we put up a live cam showing the Market Street Plaza, and it's snowing, and people love that, so they could watch the snow without going out in it.
It was kind of neat because they had a circle where somebody was going through and you could tell if it was stacking up.
That's
That
true.
was getting
Yeah,
filled
I think
in.
they were trying to do a donut, but they did it very slowly. I backed it up and watched it.
Yeah, but at least you could see if it was.
It was very
accumulated. Yeah,
interesting.
it was pretty cool.
So whenever it snows, we may do that again, we'll see. And then for Facebook Analytics, we had 5,457 views, 4,300 followers. Facebook Analytics for the city, 10,670 views, 6,000 followers. So doing a good job of reaching people on social media. On the annual report, anybody have any questions, first of all, monthly report? I always put a lot of data in the annual report that shows a lot of what we do. And some of the things you might want to look at are the programming that we produce monthly. You may not know some of the things that we produce. But as we brought up earlier, we have the Crafty Corner, so you might want to check that out. That's pretty cool. That's sponsored through the library, and they do short crafts for kids or adults. We started a new program to take the place of Library Storytime. It's called Storytime Express. That started this year. And we're actually doing Storytime inside of a moving train. So it's fascinating and it's themed. So as the theme is introduced, you'll notice outside the window something that's themed just like it. I gotta tell you, the one we just shot for next month was great. Because it was about bears, and there's a bear out the window looking through the window, and my wife does the show, and it's just hilarious. She turns around and kind of pretends to scare the bear, timed it perfectly, and the bear jumps away from the window. It's great. So it was just fun. On page 7 is some of the most interesting things. We did a breakdown on YouTube, but also I went ahead and did a breakdown on all the Facebook pages for the city departments. And when I did that, I hadn't really done this before, but I noticed that one of the posts had gone viral last year with 1.3 million reach, and that was for the city street department. Back in May, on the 14th of May, they had made a post about, please don't put oil in the trash cans when we dump it into the automated truck. It dumps the oil all over the truck. And I put a picture on there that shows you what that was. Apparently, 1.3 million people saw that. So they win the contest for the most people viewing their post.
Apparently, a lot of other communities have the same problem, they just didn't have the picture we had.
I believe you're right.
Yeah,
They shared
They
it.
probably shared it and said, please don't do this.
Yes.
yeah.
It makes a terrible mess. The City of Connersville page had 189,200 reach, and the third place was the Parks Department with 130,673 reach. So we're actually reaching a lot of people out there. And all the departments are doing really well with posting and things like that, and they're getting better at it too. So that's very encouraging, because that's how we reach and communicate to people today, is through social media. On the next page, that shows our annual budget and how we spent money. And the most important thing there, I think, is to see that we came in under budget to almost $20,000. So do what we can to not spend money. Any questions? Oh, last page, that's right. Is a picture of all the stuff we do throughout the year, so you can kind of check that out. Kind of gives you an idea of everything we do. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Chief Harden.
Good evening. You have a copy of my December 2024 report. We had a total of 366 calls for service. That's made it the busiest month since July of 23. July of 23, we only had 167, so we just missed it by one there. So we ended up with 4,111 calls for service for the entire year. A total of 53,271 miles for the year. You can see the fuel usage and the fuel tax rebate submission. One of the few big things that happened in the month of December is EMT Charlie Catt graduated from the IU Health Lifeline program, paramedic program. And she passed her national registry for national certification, and she did receive her Indiana license. So we're really excited about that. So it takes a long time and a lot of hours just doing that. Does anybody have any questions on the monthly? So you do not have a yearly for me at this point. For some of my numbers to actually be accurate, I got to give it a little bit of time. I usually try to get those numbers at the end of January, as far as adjustments and credits and all that on the billing side. So I get it January 2nd, but it's not going to be very accurate. So I try to give it 30 days, let some of those calls clear through the billing cycle, and then I'll have something in February. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Superintendent Steele.
Good evening. So for my monthly report, I want to report on our Parks Department team. We are currently taking applications for our seasonal help that we have for the summer. So we are accepting applications for pool lifeguards, concession workers, grounds crew, summer discovery counselors, and sports concession workers as well. So, and I'll also report that I had asked for approval to accept Grace Williams' resignation at the Board of Works meeting. And I have also asked approval to hire or promote my secretary, Kelly Moffett, to assistant director. So those are the other changes that are taking place in my office, and then I'll be hiring for a secretary in the coming weeks. Some projects I've been working on. We would like to replace the restroom vanity and sinks at the Miller Building, so I'm working on getting quotes for that. My guys are going to install the vanity, so that'll save on some money, so I'll just have to purchase the vanity itself and the sinks. And then I'm also getting quotes on the Miller Building doors, because that is something that we need to replace as well. We're working on cameras. So we have put cameras up at the soccer fields. So those have already been installed last year. And then this week or maybe next week, just depending on the weather's not really cooperating, but we're gonna be installing cameras at the bridge. And then we will be installing cameras at the pool, the skate park, and the playground area. And then 2nd Street Park. We're looking into solar light cameras there because we don't have electricity, and he thinks he can do that. So we're working with Hillfi. The city works with them, so we're working with him as well. He does a great job for us. Something that is going on right now with our sports department, we have youth boys league basketball going on right now, and also men's league basketball and church league basketball. And I said this morning, but I want to commend Logan. He puts in a lot of hours and he does a great job. I worked for him on Saturday a little bit so that he could go to the high school game because they announced our youth girls basketball teams at the high school game. And so I went in and filled in with him, and he's there long hours on Saturdays. Those basketball games run from somewhere between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning all the way till 7 o'clock at night. And so he puts in a lot of hours. And then he goes on Sundays and he does men's league, and Monday nights he does church league. So he's working really hard and doing a great job. So I just want to commend him for that. I also submitted our proposal for our 2025 READ community benefits funding. They supported us last year, and they said they want to continue to do that. So I put in that proposal. It was for $30,000, which is the same amount as we got last year. And it's to help support our Living Well, Aging Well program, summer discovery, our sports, and our 4 events that we put on. And so I did hear back. It went through the first board that had to review all of the applicants, and then it was sent off to the governing board. So we were approved the first round, and it's being sent to the second round of the governing board to review that, and then they should be letting us know by the end of this month. And let's see, and then Logan is he will be taking, we're actually using this report to take around to all of our sponsors. You probably saw in the back of the book all of the information about sponsorships. So he'll be taking these around to about 45 businesses to get sports sponsorships. And I'll talk about it in a minute, but he has done a fabulous job at also going out and getting sponsorships for the sports department. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it looks good.
Thank you. And then Living Well, Aging Well activities are going on this month. So that's for my monthly report. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. And then moving on to my 2024 annual report. The first couple pages, I'm just gonna skim through this and pick some highlighted things out. First couple pages is just talks about the park, our visions, the employees that we have. And then on page 6, it talks about our growth and our planning and some things that we did in 2024. And so we worked on our park master plan. That has been submitted to DNR. They sent it back. We did have to make some adjustments to it. And then we are submitting that back to DNR. And they have till April to approve it. But we believe that we have turned in everything we need to turn in. And then once that's approved, we will have the final copy of our master plan. So that was one thing. We worked a long time on getting that set up. So it'll be nice to have that. And then the Longwood Bridge was completed in 2024. That was good to see. J. Long Memorial 2nd Street Park, we have just a few final touches to put on that park, and then we hope to open that this spring. So once the weather straightens up for us, we'll get there and finish up the things that we need to finish, and then we'll be having a grand opening this spring for that. And then some things for 2025 that's coming together is a plan for River's Edge and completing the DNR list of requirements that we have. Office Park, we will be working on that come springtime. They'll be putting in the walking path and then the workout stations around Office Park. And then Roberts Park, we have the skate park pump track that will begin as soon as the weather is nice enough to start. So some great things are happening. The Parks Department is really exciting. The next couple pages just talks about all of our facilities and rentals. Page 16, I put in here just information about the pool and how many employees we had this summer at the pool, and just a little bit of information about what we brought in. I put the graph down at page 14 down at the bottom just to kind of show over the years what our income was coming in. That doesn't mean that we had a profit. We actually did lose money this year at the pool, but I wanted to show the increase that we've been having. Like it's just continually to increase, and so we're working hard on bringing those numbers back up again. It did have a little decline. In 2018 was brought in the most amount of money, and then it started to decline after that. But we are trying to get that back up again.
22 is when we opened late
Yes.
because of
yes.
the liner.
Yes. So it was only open like what, 6 weeks or
Yeah, it was
something
not.
like that. It wasn't open very
It was
long.
not much.
When COVID affected 20.
Yeah, so there was a lot of things that did happen through those years. Yeah. And then the next couple pages talks about all of our programming. So I wanted to point out for the sports, I put each of the different sports that we offer for our youth, and then how many participated and how many hours of volunteers that we had as well, because it takes a lot to put on all of our sports programs, and we have a lot of volunteers that put in a lot of hours with practices and ball games, and some of them stay after to help Logan clean up and shut down, and lots of things that take place. So I added that in there. Also, our special events on page 18 talks about what events we offered in 2024, how many participated. At those events, we had a great turnout this year for all of the events. The community I really feel like they enjoy coming to all the things that we have to offer, and they show that because it shows in our number of participants. So, and then Living Well, Aging Well, we kept track of all of the times people participated in different events that we had throughout the year. We did have an activity that We didn't have a lot of attendance, but those who came really enjoyed it, and that was the open swim time at the pool. We had that for a couple hours on Tuesday nights for 50 and older, and they really enjoyed that. The comments were it was great to just have a peaceful pool to themselves, and that was funded by Reed, and so we did not charge them to come in for those hours, and they really did like that and appreciated that time to be in the pool. And then just a list of all the other activities that we had to offer. The next couple pages are sponsorships and collaborations that we have at the Parks Department. And the different sponsorships that we brought in for our special events. We brought in $9,690 in sponsorships for our 4 events that we put on throughout the year. And then our sports sponsorships, I believe when I started, the sponsorship was running about $10,000 in how much the sports sponsorships were bringing in. And I told Logan, I said, just, each year keep reaching for a higher goal. And last year he brought in $28,002. And so that was just amazing. I said, okay, Logan, let's go for 30 in 2025. So I think he can make it. But he has really worked hard to go out and get all of the support that he has for the sports department. And then the other ones I've listed as Friends of the Park. Those are just other people who have given their time to do something at the park. Like Channel 3, they come and they take pictures with the bunny or Mr. and Mrs. Claus. The Purdue Extension Office, they come and they teach classes during Summer Discovery. We have a lot of other different organizations that gave some kind of time to the park this year in volunteer hours, and so we just appreciate that very much. And then some improvements I wanted to point out that's on page 24 was the completion of the bridge. We did buy some new chairs and tables for the Miller Building. We had a donor give money to a new fountain at the garden by the Miller Building, so we did replace that. We did fix the chimney at the Roberts Building. It was falling apart. The brick was falling down, going to the ground, and so we completely took that chimney out and just cut it off at the roof and then replaced the roof in that area. And then the administration building received a fresh coat of paint on the walls and on the floor as well. And so just a few of the things I wanted to point out. There was other things that we did. Levi Marzelik, he put in the fitness trail at Roberts Park as well. And then we had 347 volunteers throughout the year for different things that we offered at the park. And then the rest just talks about our sponsorship levels. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you going to continue to do the open swim for the seniors?
Yes, as long as Reed will approve our request for this year, which I think that they
I
will.
didn't realize that, so that sounds
Yes,
fun.
it's on Tuesday nights. Mhm. Yeah. We do plan on doing that. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Clint? Did Jeremy make it back? Is he out there?
Do what?
Did Jeremy make it back?
No.
Okay. Jeremy didn't make it back from Ohio, so we'll do him next time. Moving on to old business, and the old business. Miscellaneous business, I got something for topic of discussion for council, because just paying attention to what's going on with the new legislators in session now in the state. And there's some things coming down the pike that we are going to have to deal with. The first one, it's coming rather quickly. We had a conversation today with someone, and they're like, the governor is pushing this one pretty hard. And that is a city will tax. We do not have a city will tax. We have a county will tax. We will no longer be qualified to apply for community crossings unless we implement a city will tax. So that means we will not be able to apply for the 50% matching grant for the community crossings. And I read another article today, they said that there's a committee studying that, and they're trying to shift the burden to the locals. And the article said, local governments, get ready for all your tax increases, because the state's doing away with all the taxes, and they're gonna shift them to the local people. And that is their plan. I'm watching, there's 3 bills right now, 2 in the Senate, 1 in the House, I think there might be another in the House now, dealing with property taxes. I don't know what that's gonna look like yet. But in order to institute a will tax, you were in the room with me, was it June? We have to done by June, and it'd be in effect in July for the next year? If that's the direction.
June, I
June.
think it's June, yeah.
If that is the direction you wanna go, the option is you don't have to do a will tax, then you just won't be able to qualify for any community crossings, and the paving will be all on our own. Just so you know, we get $375,000 that goes in NVH, was it 375? 375, I believe.
Between now and June 30th on the wheel tax.
Yeah. So that, we're already on an 80-year paving cycle. I calculated how many miles of roads we got, how many miles we pave every year. Now, it actually increased the last 2 years because inflation went up so much, but we're in an 80-year cycle at our current spend. So when someone says they haven't paved my street in 30 years, yeah, we got 40 more to go, 50 actually. So I don't know what the answer is. I just want to put that in the back of your minds, because that's a discussion that we are going to have. And they're voting on that one actually, I think, pretty quickly. And I've talked to legislators, and everyone I've talked to, I think you're going to see a pretty quick unanimous vote on that one.
Well, I think on that June 30th date, that was kind of a soft date. They thought that was a date that we would be okay.
Yeah, July 1st has to be instituted by July 1st if you want to be qualified for 2026. I knew there was a date in there somewhere, I couldn't remember what it was. So they're shifting the burden, a lot of the burdens are being shifted to us. They're, as far as the property tax stuff, they've offered pretty significant cuts with absolutely zero replacement. They're offering no replacement. It will be up to us to find replacements for that. What is that? I don't have any idea. A couple of them have mentioned increasing your lit tax. There's a cap on that. And also the state's looking to decrease income tax. I think that'd be just, hopefully their side. I don't know the answer to that. So we're just paying attention to everything. It's going to be very cautious as we go into the budgetary season. But hopefully a lot of these questions will be answered before we get into that. But the will tax is something definitely that has to be on the radar, because we know that is coming down the pike. And every legislator I've talked to said, yes, that is coming. That is not just a rule, that will be the law.
Can you elaborate on what that would mean to the individuals?
It could be anywhere. Our current will tax is, and the recommendation we had, just so you know, was to mirror what the county already has. Because a lot of counties already have will tax, most cities do not.
Counties
I
is
think it was
25.
$25 or $50 a vehicle, I don't remember.
25 for the county.
I really don't remember. Their recommendation was to mirror what is already in place, because the BMV will be tasked with all that. And if it mirrors the county, it makes it a lot easier on their end, because they're collecting everything. But, so just keep that in the back of your mind. We're gonna have future discussions on that. I'm kind of waiting to see what legislator does, even though I know what they're gonna do on this one. But don't have any answers right now. I don't like it. I think what they're doing is trying to shift more taxes to local control. I don't know if that's their motivation or not. But I can tell you that the bills that are introduced right now will absolutely decimate our city. I'm not talking hurt, but it will decimate us. We're 78% of our general fund goes towards employees right now. And we're already well underpaid and understaffed. We need help. If they cut 10% of the budget, where do you take it from? That's 22% for fuel operating expense. That's not a whole lot. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm on the phone constantly with legislators. I'll be going to the State House in a couple weeks. We're having, all the mayors are meeting, and then we're going to talk with a lot of legislators. I can tell you there's a big misunderstanding on the legislative side, and I think taxpayers in a whole, there's a misunderstanding, because when we hear taxes, we hear federal level taxes. We all know what that looks like. Your property taxes pay for local government. That pays for your fire, police, your EMS, your parks. That's all local dollars. Where our federal money we know they waste it. We're very frugal with our dollars. We try to make it extend as far as we can, so, it drives me crazy. Property tax is one of the things that drives me crazy, because it's an every year thing. But that is how we provide the services for our community. So I don't really know what the answer looks like, if that comes down the pike, how much it comes down the pike. They may not do anything, and they may want to study it for the future. We don't know the answer to that. But the will tax, if that is your desire, we will have to start moving on that. And Adam, he's been studying on that. He can help us institute it. He's helping other communities get instituted. He said everyone's working on it right now because they know it's coming down the pike.
Well, he said there were only 10 communities right now that have it.
That have it in the city,
In place.
the city tax.
Yes, that have the city tax.
Yes,
in
10
place.
cities have been, we talked about this in December, I believe. We was at Mayor's Institute, and word came out in December. I always take a wait-and-see approach. I don't want to just throw stuff out there not knowing, but it keeps coming down the pike. I've talked to legislators, so it is definitely coming down the pike. So I think it's time to start talking about it, especially if we decide to implement it. So I don't know if I answered all your questions or not, because I don't know all the details of the county will tax. I think it's $25 a car, but I think commercial vehicles are different. Yeah, Jeff, do you know?
I would assume commercial vehicles are different, but yeah.
I think they're different. They said keep it as simple as possible. There's a lot of communities that have very complicated will tax, and it's a
Sure.
nightmare for the BMV. Keep it simple, mirror what you have is what the recommendation is.
So it basically comes, when we get our, our car tags, it would be added onto that.
Right.
Yeah. The bad thing is you're gonna pay one for the county and one for the city.
Yeah.
I think.
Is there one for the state right now that will be eliminated?
No.
No.
Okay.
No. They're trying to shift more of the burden onto the local governments.
I mean, but if they're requiring it for us to get that match, you don't, I mean, yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if you have choice, like you have to get that match.
Well, they've increased their ADA requirements as well. That makes your paving cost a lot more expensive, because every one of those ramps, we used to calculate 6,000, it was 8,000, I think it's $10,000 an intersection now, just to put the ADA ramps in. So that really, this sounds bad, because they are needed, but it drives the cost of your paving, and that's why our 80-year cycle keeps getting extended. All of our costs keep going up, our income has stayed the same, if not down. Actually, we did have to decrease a little bit. So, it's a tough one. I really don't know what the answer is right now. I'm just giving you the information. You can chew on it, you can yell at me if you want, that's fine, I'm good with that. But I will need some sense of direction on what you guys want to do on that, because it's not my decision to make, it's all of our decisions to make, so. And even when push comes to shove, if they do something with the property taxes and income taxes, that's going to be all our burden to bear, so. I'm just giving you the information. Don't know what it looks like yet. I've told every legislator I know, you will decimate us. Look what the first cap did, when we could have captured a lot more money, and it's already caused a lot of issues here, so. Especially in my office, so. Any other miscellaneous business?
The Art Association still has the wood carvers up. It's a really good show. If you haven't been to see it, it's up for 2 more weeks.
Good deal. Anybody else?
It is really, it's a good, really good show. It's amazing what they do.
Any other miscellaneous business? Anybody from the public out there, Clint? Nope. The motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried.